What's happening, everybody? It's Jeff Lightsy Jr. here with the Black Boss Channel, and welcome to episode 1 of the Victory Formation Podcast Sports Show. It is a sports show I'll be bringing to you live every single weekday to recap everything that either happened over the weekend or everything that is happening in the world of sports. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. And of course, the number one story over the weekend was the NFL playoffs. And we'll start with the game that I was most looking forward to. It may or may not have been the biggest disappointment, but hey, it is what it is. And that was the Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens. Now, obviously, if you guys have been following me for a while, I am from Louisville and I love me some Lamar Jackson. And I was excited to see him play and to get his first playoff win and play against a team and a player that I think he's better than, and that's Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. But Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are having a historic year. They're having a great season. They are just going crazy. But I did a video. They got a lot of flack. I did a video calling Josh Allen overrated. I did a video saying that Josh Allen isn't as good as a lot of people think he is. And I caught some flack for that. But it is what it is. And the Ravens were defeated by the Buffalo Bills 17-3. Josh Allen looked like the Josh Allen that I knew. he was only 23 of 30. And in the first half, for the first 30 minutes of the game, right? If you watch the game, for the first 30 minutes of the game, my prediction about Josh Allen was right. Hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and leave comments because we'll be interactive throughout the duration of this podcast show. But anyway, during the first half of the game, I looked like a genius. Because I said Josh Allen was overrated, and he was looking pretty damn overrated. And he was just not having a good game. Like I said, he only finished with 200 yards, 200 passing yards, 206 passing yards, and 106 of those went to Stephon Diggs. The biggest difference between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen at this very moment is Stephon Diggs. Like, it's literally having that number one receiver. If Lamar Jackson had a Stephon Diggs on his team, the Baltimore Ravens will be a completely different team. They're the number one rushing team. Lamar's the number one rushing quarterback. They have the top rushing game in the league the last 2 years, and Lamar Jackson has literally won the award that Josh Allen will finish third in this season, right? Lamar Jackson has won the MVP, and Josh Allen will more than likely finish third. So here's the problem. Baltimore has several problems on the team. One is the fact that their defense can be shaky at times. The defense played really well, though. Don't get me wrong. The defense played absolutely tremendous. Outside of checking Stephon Diggs, nobody's been able to check Stephon Diggs all year, right? Like, that is what it is. He got 8 catches for 106 yards. Lamar had the critical pick in the end zone that cost him a touchdown. They ran it all the way back. But Lamar Jackson also had 3 bad snaps. Lamar Jackson also suffered a concussion because his center can't snap the freaking ball. That has nothing to do with Lamar. It has nothing to do with the Buffalo defense. It has everything to do with Baltimore. Self-inflicting wounds and doing things that'll hurt you is not how you win playoff games. Having turnovers is not how you win playoff games. They were in the backfield. Like you said, yes, Ron White. The Buffalo defense was in the backfield in Lamar's lap every single time. He had no time to throw the ball. Now, I get it. Lamar isn't the most accurate passer. I'm not one to be biased. I'm not one to act like I don't know this. I know the game of football. I understand that his passing and his accuracy needs to get better. Of course it needs to get better. But Baltimore, you got to help him out. You have to help him out. And what I mean by helping him out, you have to go out and get him a number one receiver this offseason. You have to go get a number one receiver this offseason. Not to mention the 2 missed field goals by Justin Tucker. That's like Justin Tucker missing 2 field goals in one game is like getting struck by lightning in the exact same spot 20 seconds apart, right? Like, Justin Tucker's the most accurate kicker in the history of football, and he missed 2 field goals in a playoff game. That changed the momentum. But anyway, like I was saying, you have to go get a number one receiver. Not only, I think drafting a receiver is a good choice, but there's some receivers that are going to be out on the market. Julio Jones is the number one guy I'd go target if I was Baltimore. I know it's going to cost you some money, but I think Atlanta's in a rebuilding mode. And Julio was going to want to get out of that rebuilding. Go holler at Atlanta and see what you can get. See what it takes to get Julio out of Atlanta. 2, there's Allen Robinson in Chicago. Allen has already made it clear he wants to get out of Chicago. It's not going to cost you as much as going to get Julio Jones. Hit up Chicago, see what you can get. See what it takes to get Allen Robinson. Or 3, Kenny Golladay out in Detroit. He's a really good receiver. He gets hurt sometimes. A really good receiver. Holla at Detroit and see what it takes to get Kenny Golladay out of Detroit. Once again, it's the Victory Formation podcast show, sports show, the first episode. Hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and leave comments because we're going to be interactive throughout this entire show. So Buffalo beats Lamar. Josh Allen, I still think, still might be overrated, but it is what it is. Next, the second game that I was most forward looking to is the Browns versus the Chiefs. Now, the Browns versus the Chiefs was a good one because the Chiefs got out to a 19-3 lead at one point. And I thought if they ever got out into that lead, there's no way in hell Cleveland would have a chance to come back. Well, it turns out Cleveland did. Cleveland ended up only losing this game with 22-17. But the biggest reason for that was the Cleveland running game finally got going. That and the defense stepped up. Now, there was a couple of plays that went against Cleveland. The targeting, it should have been targeting helmet to helmet on Rashad Higgins diving into the end zone. 1, it should have been a touchdown. He should have scored. He shouldn't have fumbled the damn ball. 2, there was targeting, and there was no penalty called. I guess that's the benefit you get when you're the reigning Super Bowl champion, because that was clear as day as targeting everybody that was watching it, right? Like the Kansas City offense went null and void in the second half. They scored 3 points in the second half. Now, it sucked because Patrick Mahomes got a concussion, and we'll talk more about that because that is going to impact the rest of the playoffs. If Mahomes' concussion is upheld, I mean, that is going to affect big time their game against the Buffalo Bills. They won't have a chance in hell against the Bills without Mahomes. Now, granted, I might keep calling Josh Allen overrated, but he's good enough to beat Chad Henne. He's definitely good enough to beat Chad Henne. That is for sure. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, especially if their defense is able to get pressure the way they were able to get pressure against Lamar. Now, it hurt that Lamar's center couldn't snap him the ball right, but if the Bills are able to get that same pressure that they got against Lamar Jackson, the Chiefs are going to be in some trouble. The Chiefs are going to be in some trouble. But the one thing I will say about the Browns, the Browns lost. And some of the Browns fans are going to be disappointed because they had a legit chance to win, and Chad Henne made a crazy run on 3rd and 14 to get 13 and a half yards, and then the Chiefs were gutsy and went forward on 4th and inches. Like that's a champion type play. Those are 2 champion type plays. The 3rd and 14 scramble for 13 and a half yards and the 4th and inches call to get it to Tyreek Hill, those are champion type plays. You got to give it up to Kansas City for that. But beside that, the Browns have a bright future. Nick Chubb is not going anywhere. Kareem Hunt is locked up. Kevin Stefanski seems to have figured out Baker Mayfield. And that's the thing. When you figure out, that's what every coach in the NFL is searching for their franchise quarterback. Now, Baker Mayfield isn't Patrick Mahomes. He isn't Lamar Jackson. He isn't these guys, but he is talented. The man was taken number 1 overall. Like we can't just ignore the fact that he was taken number 1 overall in the same draft as Lamar Jackson, in the same draft as Josh Allen. Like in that exact same draft, Baker Mayfield was the first overall pick. So we can't ignore that fact. But with that, it looks like Stefanski has figured out the best way to maximize Baker's talent. And if you're able to do that, this team is in the right trajectory. This team is trending upward. This team has a bright future. It has a bright future. The Cleveland Browns have a bright future. That sounds like that doesn't even sound right, but it's the truth. It is the truth. Now, the thing is, with them having a bright future, what do you do with Odell Beckham? Right? Odell Beckham missed the better part of this season, and the Browns looked pretty good without him. Right? So do you move off Odell Beckham to try to improve your team, to try to improve your defense, to try to get some pieces that a pass rusher on the opposite side of Myles Garrett, who's maybe the first or second most dangerous pass rushers in the entire NFL? Do you try to improve other areas, maybe your offensive line, maybe your linebacking core, your secondary? Because Odell Beckham, I think, still has trade value, even coming off an ACL injury. You know who traded for Odell Beckham in a heartbeat? The Baltimore Ravens. They trade for Odell Beckham in a heartbeat. Receivers are a premium in the NFL right now. Having a good receiver can change the trajectory of your team. Ask Buffalo. So I think Odell Beckham being on the market, even coming off an injury, is something that is valuable. Leave your comments, thoughts and comments, and let me know what you think. But anyway, so Cleveland is trending in the right direction. Moving on, Tampa Bay beats the Saints in what was like the GOAT game, the Hall of Fame game, the old man's game, and they looked like two old men in the first half. Both Brady and Breeze both looked like old men, but it showed who is ready to continue to play and who has a who still has somewhat of a future left in the NFL and who needs to go to the broadcast booth. Drew Brees, it's time to ride off in the sunset, my guy. I know that's not the way you wanted to go out. I know you wanted to go out with either with a Super Bowl or even a better game, because it was a horrible game by Drew Brees, especially in the second half. But it is what it is. It's time to ride off in the sunset, because that game was even up until the turnovers. Once the turnovers started happening, the Tampa Bay took off. Shout out to Antoine Whitfield, the secondary player for Tampa Bay, because he made the play. The play that changed the game was when Whitfield, first of all, it was a good catch and run initially by Jared Cook. But when Winfield punched the ball at Jared Cook's belly, that changed the game. It was over. Both quarterbacks, yes, Ron White, both quarterbacks played bad. And both of them were playing bad throughout the duration of the game. But when Winfield made that play, it changed the game. Tampa Bay went in and scored, and the Saints were never the same. Then Drew Brees started to press the issue and started throwing interceptions. Devin White caught one, and I think Derek Edwards caught one. It was over after. When Derek Edwards caught his, the game was pretty much over, but still, 4 turnovers cost the Saints the game. The Saints have so many weapons. By the way, Michael Thomas, who was a 99 overall rating in Madden just last year, had a horrible season. After talking all this smack to guys like Devontae Parker and different receivers and talking about he's the best receiver, he had a horrible year. Besides, add the fact that he had injuries and add the fact that he got suspended one game for fighting a teammate in practice. Like, come on, bro. Like, if you go and talk smack about people and talk smack about your own teammates and fighting your own teammates, you got to come harder in the playoffs. I mean, you were a 5-yard hitch guy anyway, but you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. So moving forward, the Saints have so many weapons, but the Saints don't have a quarterback, don't have their future quarterback on their roster. The Saints have so many weapons, but Jameis Winston, I don't think is the answer. Taysom Hill, dang sure ain't the answer. So I don't know what you do if you're the Saints, because I think Drew Brees just played his last game. I think Adam Schefter and Jay Glazer, some big-time NFL insiders, are reporting that was the last game. Drew Brees has a booth at NBC waiting for him, now that he's retired, or will be announcing his retirement soon. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. Another thing about the Saints, you got to listen to this. I read this, and this is pretty interesting. Since the Saints won the Super Bowl, so since Bountygate, since the Saints won the Super Bowl, Drew Brees, Sean Payton, and the Saints have only went 5-7 in the playoffs. They have a losing record in the playoffs. The Saints have a losing record in the playoffs since they won the Super Bowl. I mean, is that not crazy to y'all? Like, that's pretty crazy to me to realize that as good as Drew Brees has been, as good as the Saints have been for years, it seems like, the Saints have been one of the top organizations in the NFL for years, and they have a losing record in the playoffs since they won the Super Bowl. That is just that's kind of wild to me. That is kind of wild. Thank you, Mr. Cleveland, for your well wishes. Now, but the Saints have a lot of decisions to make this offseason. Alvin Kamara is one of the best running backs, best all-around offensive weapons in the NFL. Man had 17, 18 rushing touchdowns in the regular season. Michael Thomas is getting a big check. He's one of the highest paid receivers in the league, but he had an awful year. So how do you bounce back from that? And what do you do at the quarterback position? Over on the other side, Tampa Bay looks good. Tampa Bay looks good. Now, Brady, what's going to cause Tampa Bay will have a rematch against the Green Bay Packers in the NFC Championship game. And we saw this game earlier this year. Tampa Bay beat the brakes off Green Bay earlier this year. I mean, they beat the brakes off of them. And so we know that can happen again. Like, we just can't ignore the fact that is something that could take place again. But Aaron Rodgers is playing at a different level, and we're going to get to him. And Brady, although they came away with the win, and although Brady is the GOAT, and although TB12 method seems to be working because the man is 43 years old and in the NFC Championship game, the man has been to 14 conference championship games. Let that sink in. 14 conference championship games. He's played 21 years in the NFL. In 21 years in the NFL, he's been to 14 conference championship games. That is insane. Yes, Kansas City is in trouble if Mahomes can't play. You're absolutely right, Nick S. They're not gonna win if Mahomes doesn't play. But back to Brady. 14 NFC championship games. Like most coaches, most organizations, like Tom Brady is an organization. You know, I'm someone who used to give Brady flack. I'm not gonna act like I didn't. I said it might have been the system over Brady. I said I would choose Belichick over Brady. I said that Brady was a little bit overrated, especially for those first 3 Super Bowl wins when he was more of a game manager as opposed to the Tom Brady that we've known for the better half of 15 years for sure. But now I got to eat those words because the only thing that changed about about Tampa Bay from last year to this year, last year where they went 7-9 and missed the playoffs, and this year they're in the NFC Championship game with a quarterback that threw 40 touchdowns. It's TB12. 12 is the only thing that changed. They got rid of Jameis. They brought in 12. That's literally the only thing that changed. 12 is an organization. 12 is a dynasty. 12 is the LeBron James. Now, granted, football is more of a team sport than basketball, but 12 is the LeBron James of football. Hell, 12 is the Michael Jordan of football. If you like Michael better, I'm a LeBron guy, but if you like Michael better, 12 is that dude. 12 is that good. 12 has been that dominant throughout the course of his career, and it's just insane. It's just insane. 14 championship games, 9 Super Bowl appearances, working on number 10 potentially if they beat the Packers. And moving on to the Packers, they were able to beat the Rams. They defeated the Rams 32-18. I think Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest quarterbacks. Yes, it is impressive, Mr. Ron White. It's beyond impressive. What 12 has been able to do is just something, it's unexplainable. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. Now, what the Packers, they beat the Rams 32-18. And I think this is Aaron Rodgers' best year ever. I think Aaron Rodgers had some great years in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers, when it's all said and done, he's got to win another Super Bowl or two. But if he's able to sneak around, mess around and win this Super Bowl or win a Super Bowl because his window's getting smaller because he's 38 years old. But if he's able to get I like to put Aaron Rodgers on my Mount Rushmore of football quarterbacks. I'm going to say quarterbacks simply because I think there's other better football players than a lot of the quarterbacks. But obviously quarterbacks get the majority of the credit because they deserve so. They're that good. They mean that much to teams. But Aaron Rodgers, I think out of all the great years he's had, the man's won 3 MVPs, or he'll win his third or fourth MVP. I mean, third MVP this year because he just went insane. But this might be his best year ever. This man has literally just done it every which way to win games. This man has a legit offensive line. He has 3 legit running backs. He has a number 1 receiver that's just a touchdown machine. Devontae Adams has 19 receiving touchdowns this year. And he missed 2 games, by the way. He has 19 touchdowns. He missed 2 games. So this man is insane. And all the great years he's ever had, this might be his best year ever. This might be the year that looks like he can finally get over the top. This might be the year that Aaron Rodgers can prove a lot of doubters wrong. A lot of people that say Aaron Rodgers is overrated. A lot of people that say I'm crazy for thinking he's just so skilled, so talented when he only has 1 Super Bowl. Him and Matt LaFleur, his young head coach has brought in new life, new energy, new offensive schemes, new play calling, new everything into the Green Bay Packers organization with the legit defense led by Louisville guy, Jair Alexander, led by Jair. This team looks like a legit Super Bowl team. That they look like what the Rams looked like a couple years ago. But you know what cut the head off of the Rams and they haven't been the same since? It's 12. It's TB12. They didn't look the same after they played the Patriots in 12. Now the Packers didn't look the same when they played Tampa Bay in 12 earlier this season. Now they will get the chance to decide whether they can get over the hump against Tom Brady in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Aaron is truly the GOAT. Like, I think Aaron is pretty good. If you put him on the Patriots, they do have, I mean, he's going to have a lot of those same accomplishments. He's a really good football player. James, you're right. I mean, I think, like I said, I want to put him on my Mount Rushmore quarterbacks. I mean, this man is tough, and Brady did benefit from playing in the AFC East for 20 years. Like, yeah, you're right. I mean, you're absolutely right. But after what I saw this year from Brady at age 43, I can't just knock what he's doing. I can't just take away the fact that he went to Tampa, a completely different organization, with no offseason, no training camp for real, no preseason games, and went through for over 40 touchdowns and 4,000 yards. Led him to the NFC Championship game. He's in his fourth championship game in a 21-year career. I can't ignore that, James. I mean, I can't. To say I think Aaron Rodgers do that, yeah, I can think Aaron Rodgers do that, but he didn't. In his career, he didn't. And it's just 12 Belichick Patriots, and now what he's doing with Tampa Bay is just ridiculous. Now over to the Rams. You know how I was talking about the future of the Browns is super bright. Like, the future of the Browns is extremely bright. They have a lot of young players. They have a young head coach, and they have a lot of things good going for them. Well, the opposite can be said about the Rams. The Rams have a young head coach, and their defense is legit. Two of the best players in football over on their defense. And Aaron Donald, who might be outside of quarterbacks, might be the best player in football. And Jalen Ramsey, who is the most shutdown corner in the league. Right? But they have an issue, man. And that's so crazy about this league. This league is all about quarterbacks. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a team. If you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to win very many games. And the Rams have a pickle at quarterback. Their quarterback isn't very good. I'm just be real with you. Jared Goff isn't very good. And it's gotten so bad with Goff that McVay has come out and said that every position is under evaluation, including quarterback. Now, Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald's positions aren't under evaluation, but the quarterback position is under evaluation. That's what he's basically saying. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. The quarterback position is under evaluation because they aren't getting good play out of that. They aren't getting good play out of that. Like it's just Jared Goff isn't the guy. Jared Goff hasn't been the guy for a while, but he's actually won the most games out of any quarterback over the last 3 years, regular season. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's won an offense, like he's had really good offenses. But the league has figured out Jared Goff. And if you don't have a mobile quarterback in the NFL in 2021, it's hard to win games unless you have TB12 and running the show. But look at the quarterbacks that are left in the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes can move. Aaron Rodgers can move. Josh Allen can move a whole lot. Even before that, even if you extend it to the divisional round, Lamar Jackson can run. Baker got a little wiggle, not a lot, but a little wiggle. Jared Goff is the most pocket-ready quarterback. And even if you look in the draft, coming out in the draft this upcoming season, Trevor Lawrence can move. Justin Fields can move. Zach Wilson can run. Trey Lance can run. The only top-ranked quarterback that can't run that'll probably go in the first round is Mac Jones. But that's like drafting a dinosaur. Drafting a non-mobile quarterback is like drafting a dinosaur. Having a non-mobile quarterback in the NFL in 2021 is like having a dinosaur. They're dying off. The guys that can't move or don't move really well aren't doing good. They aren't doing that great. Matt Ryan, he's not doing that great. Matthew Stafford, having the bad seasons. Ben Roethlisberger used to be able to move, but now he's a statue. Like you got to have quarterbacks that can move, and Sean McVay knows it. He sees Sean McVay, what Matt LaFleur is doing with Aaron Rodgers is what Sean McVay was able to do with Jared Goff the first couple of years. But then the NFL figured it out. The NFL's figured out Jared Goff. And he's not that great. Give Sean McVay a guy like Aaron Rodgers, and they would be going crazy right now. But Jared Goff isn't that guy. He isn't that guy. Yeah, no, I don't know who said Aaron Rodgers wasn't good. Dominique, Aaron Rodgers is a beast. Aaron Rodgers, I said on the Mount Rushmore quarterbacks. But Jared Goff, like it's time to move off Goff. The only problem with moving off Goff is that you owe him so much money. The Rams owe Goff so much money. There's no way. I don't see who's a suitor. Who is going to be able to take Goff off your hands? How are you going to make those contracts align? How are you going to make that work? I don't see it. But actually, I take that back. There's one potential trade partner that might be able to take Goff off your hands and make the salary caps work. Now, they might be able to make the salary caps work. I'm gonna get to that in my next segment. So the recap of the playoffs. Bills are shaky, but they might be lucky because Patrick Mahomes could be injured. The Bills are still shaky. I still worry about. I think their defense is solid. But I worry about Josh Allen because I don't trust him if the game is on the line. But they might be lucky because Patrick Mahomes could potentially be in concussion protocol. He could potentially have a concussion and not play. So there's that. The Packers versus Tampa. Can Aaron Rodgers get over the hump that is Tom Brady? Can Aaron Rodgers can Aaron Rodgers and the Packers finally make something work? But they got to go through 12, and that is going to be tough. So the Bills versus the Chiefs, the Packers versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, all for a chance to play in the Super Bowl. It's going to be a great weekend of football. We'll have more on that later this week. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. Once again, you're listening to the Victory Formation Sports Show. I'll be on here every weekday starting at 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern, talking all things sports for at least 30 minutes, maybe 45 to an hour. Just depends on how good we're flowing, how good the comments are, things like that. Send the comments, like, share, subscribe. I'm very interactive with the comments. We'll keep it coming. So my next topic is the biggest name in the NFL that's on the trading block, and that is Deshaun Watson. Leave your comments on how you feel about Deshaun Watson. I'm about to go into a spiel about Deshaun Watson. Here's my thing. Deshaun Watson is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Without a doubt. There's not 5 quarterbacks I would take in the entire NFL over Deshaun Watson. I'll give you Mahomes. I'll give you Russell Wilson. I'll give you Rodgers, maybe. Then give me Deshaun Watson. Give me Deshaun Watson over Lamar. And I love me some Lamar. Give me Deshaun Watson over Josh Allen. Josh Allen has shown me he's pretty good. He's a good quarterback. Give me Deshaun Watson over Kyler Murray, over, Brady's old. Give me Deshaun Watson over pretty much any quarterback except the 3 that I named. And I might still take him over Rodgers. Rodgers, 38 years old. Deshaun Watson wants out of Houston. Deshaun Watson is sick of the Houston Texans organization, and he should be. Deshaun Watson, the Houston Texans organization has failed Deshaun Watson, and even the players know it. This is how good Deshaun Watson is. The Houston Texans went 4-12 this past season, and Deshaun Watson, not only did he lead the league in passing yards, because we've seen bad teams or quarterbacks that aren't that great lead the league in passing yards. Quarterbacks that are on bad teams lead the league in passing yards. We've seen Dak Prescott do it. We've seen Jameis Winston do it. So, sometimes it's a blown over proportion. But here's something that's not. The man threw 33 touchdowns on only 7 interceptions. The Houston Texans were in like 5 or 6 one-possession games. That's how good Deshaun Watson is. That's all without a running game. That's all without a true number 1 receiver. That's all without having really anybody that you can name on their offense. I can't name you one other player on their offense except for the left tackle that they're overpaid for. That he's the reason why they don't have their 3rd overall pick. That's how good Deshaun Watson is. No doubt, Deshaun is that dude. Yes, James, Deshaun is that dude. He's very good. He's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. But here's the thing. Be sure to hit the like, share, subscribe. Deshaun Watson wants out of Houston. And why does Deshaun want out of Houston? Because Houston, not only have they failed him as an organization, they have literally chosen a team chaplain over their franchise quarterback. Do you know how hard it is to get a quarterback as good as Deshaun Watson? It's pretty hard. It's pretty dang hard to get a quarterback. Ask Jacksonville. how hard it is to get a guy like Deshaun Watson. Ask all these coaches that have been fired how hard it is to get a quarterback like Deshaun Watson. And here's the thing about Deshaun Watson and why his situation is so unique is because I don't know if we've ever seen a quarterback this good, this talented, this early in their career that looks like they're about to change teams. Like Deshaun Watson's 25 years old. When do we ever see 25-year-old franchise-changing, organizational changing quarterbacks on the market? Like that never happens. We never get 25-year-old organizational changing quarterbacks on the market. It never happens. Everybody signs that first deal, either plays throughout that first deal or plays till they're not any good during that first deal, i.e. Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is a young quarterback, but even he's 28. He's 28 and he doesn't look like he's any good anymore. Deshaun Watson's 25 and is looking the best he's ever looked without any weapons. He lost his number one receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, and had his best passing yardage year ever. He still threw 33 touchdowns without Hopkins. He still only had 7 interceptions without Hopkins. The man's that talented. He's that good. He's that dynamic. With receivers like Brandon Cooks, who's been traded like 4 times in 5 years, Will Fuller, who can't stay healthy, and a bunch of guys I don't even know. That's how good Deshaun Watson is. So he is going to be one of the most valuable players on the market in the NFL, this young, this great, this early in their career, to ever hit the trading block. I don't think we've ever seen this before. We've literally never seen this before. Now, here's some teams that could be in the running, in position to trade for Deshaun Watson. The first team, the top 2 teams come from that are bad. Well, one's a bad team, and one's a team that's a Deshaun Watson away from a Super Bowl appearance, I believe. The first team is the New York Jets. Now, the New York Jets, the reason why they're in great position to get Deshaun Watson is because they have a bunch of draft picks. They have the number 2 overall pick. They have a quarterback that you can package in the deal, Sam Darnold. And they have like 2 or 3 first rounders for the next 2 to 3 years. They have a bunch of picks and a quarterback that you can exchange. So if Houston wants a quarterback, now we don't know. Obviously, Sam Darnold ain't Deshaun Watson, but we don't really know what Sam Darnold is. So in order to get Houston can get Sam Darnold and try to figure it out, right? Where the Jets will get a superstar who clearly likes being in New York, because I don't know if you guys seen the video, but Deshaun Watson gave his agent. So listen, it's a really cool backstory. Deshaun Watson gave his agent. Have you ever seen the movie Paid in Full? And you remember when A Boogie came out the garage with all the Beamers and Benzes and all the stuff out of the garage? Well, Deshaun Watson gave his agent the same car Ace Boogie gave Mitch and drove it out the same garage in New York City. Really cool little video. I should be able to pull it up sometime later. But it was really cool. But he clearly likes being in New York. I think he's currently in New York right now. Just imagine bringing Deshaun Watson to the Big Apple. That is going to bring Jets fans excitement that they haven't had in 20 years. Bringing Deshaun Watson to the Jets with a Robert Saleh, by the way, a Robert Saleh that's now the head coach of the Jets, that Deshaun Watson wanted to get interviewed in Houston. They didn't do it. That's another thing. Deshaun Watson's bringing all of these candidates to the Houston Texans, who he wants to be his next head coach, or at least interview for the damn job. And they're not even letting him interview. He wanted Eric Bieniemy. They didn't interview Eric Bieniemy. He wanted Robert Saleh. They didn't interview Robert Saleh. Like, that is a slap in the face to your franchise quarterback, to the guy that is one of the top 5 best talents in the league, to a guy that Dabo Swinney said would be the Michael Jordan of the NFL. That guy. And he hasn't disappointed. He hasn't disappointed. I mean, obviously, he's only a couple years in, so he ain't Michael Jordan, but still, he's the second highest paid quarterback in the history of the league, the second highest paid player in the history of the league. He's been pretty good. That's how good Deshaun Watson is. So the first team of this is the Jets. The second team is the Miami Dolphins. We saw the reports that the Dolphins are interested in maybe packaging Tua, the 3rd overall pick, to go in and get Deshaun Watson. If that move happens, Miami is instant Super Bowl contenders. If that move happens, Miami is a team that can challenge Kansas City, they can challenge Buffalo. I think they leapfrog Buffalo to being at least the second best team in the AFC. I think they leapfrog Buffalo. Now, Buffalo might be the first best team in the AFC. We'll find out this upcoming weekend. But if Deshaun Watson gets traded to the Miami Dolphins, they will be at least the second best team, if not the best team in the AFC rather. If not the best team in the AFC. That's how ready Miami is to win. That's how ready Miami is to make noise if they get a talent like Deshaun Watson on their roster. That's how good. Yeah, Money Making Mitch and the Go BBSs. Yes, that is from Paid in Full. That is exactly. Deshaun Watson bought his agent the same car with the Go BBSs, man. Like that's how tough he is. But no, so Deshaun Watson, if he goes to Miami, they'll be an instant Super Bowl contender. Another team, I brought them up earlier. Remember I was talking about the Jared Goff contract? Is the Rams. Jared Goff and Deshaun Watson's deals line up close enough to where you can pull that off. Deshaun Watson wants out of Houston, right? So regardless of the situation, I think he could hold out or anything to force Houston's hands. And Houston wants to get something in return, whether it's draft capital or players. And the Jared Goff thing might make sense for both teams. One, because Houston the way they're doing their organization, they want to show that they're smarter than everybody, that they can do things with or without a quarterback. So go out and get a guy like Jared Goff, who might be overrated. You'll get a number one overall pick quarterback. You'll make the money line up. And if Deshaun Watson goes to the Rams with McVay, I think they become the number one team in the NFC. I said if he goes to Miami, I think they become at least the number 2 team in the AFC. If he goes to the Rams with McVay, they leapfrog Rodgers, Brady, and Tampa Bay. They become the number 1 team in the NFC. Deshaun Watson and that Sean McVay brain and that mind and that offense, and Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey holding down the defense. Now, that's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot of money. And then they're not going to have no salary cap. They're paying Cooper Kupp. They're paying Robert Woods. They're paying Jalen Ramsey. They're paying Aaron Donald. But all of that is going to be good if you get a guy like Deshaun Watson in. Because the thing is, they're paying everybody right now, and Jared Goff is limited. The team is limited because the quarterback is limited. But if you bring in Deshaun Watson, he makes it all work. He makes it all work. That would be, yes, that would be dangerous. That would be insane if you get Deshaun Watson in LA. First of all, that's the thing about LA. Let's think about the LA sports market. There's so many stars in LA. There's so many stars in LA. There's so many stars in the sports market of LA. And Jared Goff and the Rams are getting left behind. Hell, even the Chargers are starting to make headroom because they have a superstar or a budding superstar quarterback in Justin Herbert. Man threw 31 touchdowns in like 14 games. He threw the most touchdowns ever by a rookie. If you bring in Deshaun Watson, you have instant star power. Bringing in Deshaun Watson over Jared Goff gives you instant star power. Think about LA has the Lakers, who has LeBron and AD. They have the Clippers, who have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. They have the Dodgers, who have Kershaw, Mookie Betts, and all those guys, and they just won a World Series. They have the Anaheim Angels, who has the best player in baseball. I can't think of it. Mike Trout. They have Mike Trout. Like, so LA has so many stars and so many things to do, and it's 70 degrees year round. The Rams could get left in the dirt. But if you bring in a guy like Deshaun Watson, not only do you make yourself, to me, the best team in the NFC with that defense and Deshaun Watson running the show with offense, with Sean McVay as the head coach and the brain and mastermind and all those plays, with weapons that are locked up and they're going to be there for years. But you also bring another star power, star quality, a reason for fans to come to the games and coming to see Deshaun Watson in the LA Rams. That's how dangerous they could be. That's how good he is. That's how crazy things could get in LA with Deshaun Watson running the show as the quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams. Man, that would be my favorite destination. If I had to choose a team, I would love to see him in Miami. I think that'd be really cool because I think they'd be instant Super Bowl contenders. I think they'd be in the Super Bowl next year if he goes to the Rams. That's how good I think he is. That's how much I believe in Sean McVay. And that's how critical, how crucial, how good they could be in the NFC, I think they'd overtake Green Bay. I think they'd overtake Tampa. And I think they'd be the team in the Super Bowl next season if he goes and plays with Sean McVay. So that's my NFL recap for the weekend. I want to touch on really quick, and then we'll get out of here. I want to touch on James Harden and his debut for the Brooklyn Nets. So the Brooklyn Nets, be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at JLightsy7. I post stuff on there all the time. Now, the Brooklyn Nets and James Harden hooping. They was hooping. James Harden had a 32-point triple-double. Kevin Durant scored 42 points. And they look like the Brooklyn Nets I thought they'd look like as long as James Harden's there. Because James Harden, first of all, they said he shed 35 pounds on the way from the flight from Houston to Brooklyn, which is actually kind of funny. I always thought those videos of him looking really fat and really big and stuff, I thought that was weird because I'm like, James Harden is not a big dude. Like, he don't even look like he can hold that much weight. So something about that was weird. And sure enough, it was. It wasn't true. It must have been water weight or something. He clearly wanted out of Houston because James Harden had 4 straight games under 20 points. And the man averages 30 the last 3 or 4 years. He don't score under 20 points. That's not something he does. But and he showed it to you. He just wanted to get the hell out of Houston. But James Harden and Kevin Durant is a deadly combination. What can mess things up, though, is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving. So this is tricky for me. Because I think with Kyrie Irving, that's what puts them in the finals. But I also think with Kyrie Irving, it messes up some of the chemistry. Because what James Harden does best is what we saw in that game against Orlando in his first game as a Brooklyn Net. It's the pick and roll. It's the dribble handoff. It's the finding wide open shooters. That's what he does best. But that ends the ISO from times. But James Harden, Kevin Durant pick and roll was dangerous. James Harden, Kevin Durant pick and roll was unguardable. It is unguardable. It was unguardable for Orlando, and it will be unguardable throughout the duration of their career together in Brooklyn. Said the man had on a fat suit. Yeah, I mean, he might have, man, because he looked really big in Houston, but we all know the man not that big. But the combination of James Harden and Kevin Durant having the pick and roll is unguardable. I'm really interested. I'm not going to go too crazy on the Nets because I want to see what they look like with Kyrie Irving. I need to see what they look like with Kyrie Irving because James Harden and Kevin Durant, I know, are 2 of the most lethal scorers in the history of the NBA. 2 of the best scorers in the history of the NBA. 2 guys in the NBA that are simply unguardable from a 3 position and a wing position at guard. They're just unguardable. Unorthodox, quirky games, at least in James Harden's case, and then Kevin Durant is just a sniper. Now, how you fit Kyrie Irving in this, I am interested to see how it's going to work. I think part of the reason why I think it's going to work, at least work for a little bit, is because they do play for Steve Nash / Mike D'Antoni. They play that 7 seconds or less. They play that get the ball up the court, push. And sometimes you don't need to run half-court sets all the time when you're pushing the ball in transition and shooting a bunch of threes. You don't always need half-court sets. But when you do get in the half-court, sometimes there can be a lot of standing and watching with whoever has the ball. And James Harden, I know, is not a guy who likes to stand and watch. And Kyrie Irving is a guy who wanted out of Cleveland because he wasn't the number 1 guy. And now he's number 3. How he's going to deal with number 3 is going to be something to watch. When is the next time Brooklyn plays a game? Because we need to tune in. Kyrie Irving, he couldn't play. He couldn't play this weekend because of the COVID protocol. The man was out. So Brooklyn plays tonight. So we'll have a recap about Kyrie Irving and James Harden and what they're doing with Brooklyn on tomorrow's show. Because it's going to be interesting. I can see them making a run. But when it's time to play the Lakers, we'll get to that. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves about how Brooklyn will be able to guard Anthony Davis and the Lakers. But to see how Kyrie Irving, to see how he works with James Harden, because James Harden fit in like he had been playing in Brooklyn the last 5 years. He just came in and did James Harden type things. And that was pick and roll. That was find Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant had 42 points. James Harden had 32 points. Them guarding Anthony Davis, I mean, nobody can guard Anthony Davis. But at the same time, nobody on the Lakers can guard James Harden, and nobody can guard, Kevin Durant for real. Like it's gonna be crazy. There's not enough basketballs to go around. Kyrie is a baller though. Kyrie is a baller. I'm not gonna act like Kyrie is a headache. Don't get me wrong. He is a headache. He is a headache. He can be dysfunctional. He can get on your nerves or whatever. But he is a baller. Like, we just can't act like he don't go out there and get buckets. We can't act like he don't just go out there and make plays. We can't act like he just don't go out there and make things happen. Now, you're right, Zay. Chemistry is key because we saw chemistry kill the Clippers last year. We saw chemistry, or the lack thereof, kill the Clippers and their chances for a title last season. Like, we saw, we literally watched that a season ago. But what I will say was that last year was unprecedented. It was the bubble. And what I will say is, I think the Clippers were a team that was trying to figure it out, not lack of chemistry or whatever, but they only had one champion. The Nets have champions on their roster. Kyrie's won a championship. Kevin Durant has won two. So I think the chemistry in that aspect, and they've hit clutch shots in clutch moments. They made big plays when they mattered the most. Now, granted, Kevin Durant might have been on the Golden State Warriors, but it is what it is. And he still did it. You know, he's a champion. He's a two-time Finals MVP. And that's the thing the Clippers didn't have. Kawhi was a champion, but the rest of those guys had never won championships before. The rest of those guys had never been in clutch moments before. The rest of those guys had never made plays when it mattered the most. So I will say that is something that bodes well for the Brooklyn Nets. They have two guys that have been in championship moments and have won championship games. So that is what it is. But it is going to be fun to watch the Brooklyn Nets all year. We'll have an update on how Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant played together tomorrow on tomorrow's show. But once again, you're watching the Victory Formation Podcast Sports Show, the Victory Formation Sports Show. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys for tuning in for episode 1. It's in the books. We talked about NFL playoffs, recapped a lot of stuff happening in the NFL and what took place over the weekend. And we hit James Harden at the end, including some Deshaun Watson trade talks. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I will see you guys. This will be Monday through Friday every morning at 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern. Be sure to tune in. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.